Hey, all my fantasy football friends. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Multiple First Dynasty Football. I am Stoshx coming at you with the Week 16 edition of our show. This is the playoff semifinals. We got the Christmas season. It is the thick of it. It is the heat, man. It is top 4 teams remaining in your league. This is the playoff semifinals. Thank you for joining us. As always, we're here to bring you our starts and sits of the week. We got an awesome new segment for you. We got the Dynasty Stashes. We got the low rostership guys that me and Greg are putting away. And yeah, man, thank you for popping in and spending your time with us here. Yeah, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, my friend, the Philosiraptor. What's going on today, my man?
Oh, well, sick as a dog, Tony. Sick as a dog.
I heard that, man. My wife and my little 8-year-old, have been pretty sick the last couple days too. I'm trying to dodge it. I haven't slept on the couch yet, but I feel like that might be coming. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll be back on my feet before the holidays, though. So that'll be good.
Yeah, man. I hung up some stockings here, waiting for Santa to show up. I got my Star Wars themed stockings. We got some Darth Vader and some Chewbacca and some Stormtroopers here. Look at that. So
that's a lot of fun.
Little seasonal action for you guys, but yeah, man. How'd the first round go for you, sir? Did you lose some teams? Did you win more than you lose? What's up?
Yes and yes. I advanced 5 of my 8 playoff teams last week to go with 11 buys. So I have 16 active teams out of 27. Getting down to the final 4. That's pretty good work, I think.
That is very good work. Yep.
You know, but like even still, right? Like even from there, you got 16 teams there. So then what? If it all plays to form, I still only win 4. If I don't get an above average result here.
Yep.
4 out of 27 is pretty good, but it's not over the moon, right? So these things are hard to win.
They're very hard to win. I got 15 out of 22 teams make the playoffs. I had 6 bye weeks. I lost half my teams last week. I had 9 teams playing. I went 5-4. Yeah, it's wild times, man. We're missing a lot of our hurt players. That stinks. There's a lot of turmoil right now as far as injuries go. And guys like Mark Andrews and Justin Herbert, I had high rostership with both of those guys, so we're really missing them this time of year. Yeah, but something I want to check in on with you guys. We got the Multiple First Dynasty Football League of Record right here on your screen. This is the playoff bracket. Mr. Philosiraptor, he was the number 1 seed in our League of Record here and advanced. He's going to be taking on Degros, and your boy Stoshx was smoked in the first round by NRED. Yeah, we made the playoffs though, and we got some extra picks, so we're doing all right. But yeah, man, how you feeling about your matchup here?
It's man, I'm hitting a bit of a buzzsaw. You know, you see I'm 12-2 here, and I'm facing a 6 seed that's 7-7, but I'm without Justin Herbert. I'm having to roll Joe Flacco, and I'm looking across the other side, and I see, you know, Devin Singletary and Chuba Hubbard and some late bloomers. So I think I'm a coin flip this week. It's going to be nip and tuck.
Yeah, you got some Flacco. Would you play Flacco over Browning? Is that a decision you're kind of weighing right now as we're looking at your roster?
I honestly don't think that's much of a decision. With
easy Flacco, yeah.
Especially with Chase out, I'm like,
yeah, that makes
Browning
sense.
is, and Cleveland's not a good matchup, right? So like there are a lot of things about that. I think Cleveland's going to win that game, yeah, so I'm on the Flacco side of that equation. I'm playing Flacco in several crucial matchups.
Yeah.
I'm benching Russ and Minshew for him in one of my most important leagues. You know, I just look, the guy's thrown 44 or more pass attempts in all 3 of his starts. I just like stay with you know, you're not crazy, just do it.
Yeah, just run them out there. It's who'd have thought you'd be starting Joe Flacco in Week 16 this year?
And here we were stashing like Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I have a lot of few Carson Wentz shares.
It was Joe Flacco was the answer.
It was Flacco the whole time. Yeah, who had Joe Flacco on your backup quarterback coming off the couch bingo card?
Right. I don't want to bog us down, but like I do want to say when we get to the offseason, I think we need to think about injury away quarterbacks differently. Like the way we think about injury away running backs, how do injury away quarterbacks allow you to fill holes in your roster? Or maybe you can have two quarterbacks. You don't really need to have that solid third backup. And then, you're going to go chase these Easton Stick, Joe Flacco, Nick Mullins types of guys.
Yeah.
I think it's something to think about this offseason.
It is something interesting. It's I find myself I often pool fab. I don't spend a lot of fab throughout the season. I put in a lot of $1 claims on guys I want to get, but I'm not out there throwing 20s and 30s and 40s around. I tend to pool fab, and then when I need one of these backups, I just throw it all down on them. That's how I run things normally. Not that it's the best strategy, but yeah, it's weird with backup quarterbacks because you could roster like 6 or 7 of them that are all relevant if they got the job, but it's like they just suck up space in your roster. So you got to find the sweet spot as to who's worth rostering, how many of them. There's a conversation around that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's get into stashes of the week. We are stashing players here on the MFDF channel. We got stashes for you from Greg and I have picked out guys that are like under 25%, under 30% rostership on Sleeper. These are going to be guys that are probably available on your Dynasty waiver wire, players that we like. We like to stash for the 24 upcoming season here, players who could make it through the draft, make it through the offseason, and find themselves in advantageous positions. But let me kick us off first here. I got a nice little stash of the week. My stash of the week is going to be Browns wide receiver David Bell. So Mr. David Bell is about 26% rostered on Sleeper right now. I've definitely picked him up on some wires. Look, he's on the waiver wire in our MFDF league right now. I'm going to put in a claim on him. But David Bell is a pretty interesting player. He, in college, was 93 receptions and 1,200 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns in an all Big Ten season, first team at Purdue. So not an SEC school, but still very productive in college. Browns used a 3rd-round pick on this man, and he's got prototypical size at 6'1", 212. For some reason, though, David Bell has not found himself on the field very much. He only has he's got 31 career receptions across 28 games. It's terrible.
It is.
I like David Bell as a stash because it's pretty unsettled for the Browns beyond Amari Cooper. I mean, Tillman and Moore see most of the snaps. Neither of them have been steadily productive. I like Bell's talent. I like that he's been getting on the field a little more. As a completely free asset that I could throw into an empty spot on my wire or on my bench, I think David Bell's a worthwhile stash who you could hold through the offseason. The other guys are playing ahead of him now. That's just the truth of it. He's the wide receiver 4 on the team. I mean, could he just have a good offseason and usurp someone ahead of him? Totally could happen. Could he be an injury away? Could happen. Could Deshaun Watson take this offense to the next level next offseason? I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. I like David Bell as a totally free stash for your roster. Yeah.
Absolutely. So some guys who might have been in this bucket a year ago include people like Ty Chandler or Rashid Shaheed. And I think some of the phrases I like to use around these stash players is like, can you tell yourself a believable story about how this comes out good for you?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I think you can tell, like, he's free, and you can tell a believable story about how you get to August and you're really excited to have shares as depth pieces. And then if it takes another good turn once the games start counting in September, well, then all of a sudden you could have it's the wide receiver 2 on a good offense. Like, you can tell yourself a story how he just outcompetes Cedric Tillman and Elijah Moore, and becomes the number 2 on a good offense.
Yeah. I think that could happen. Cooper dominates targets, and Njoku's clearly number 2 receiver, or number 2 pass catcher. But David Bell has the talent to do something if he can earn his way up the depth chart. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and a thing to remember here is I don't think this is going to pan out because I really like Cedric Tillman. But like you what you're wanting to do is take free shots that could pan out, right? And Cedric Tillman could be a total bust, right? I don't think that's going to happen, but he could, right? And then all of a sudden, there's a lot more room for David Bell. So don't fall in love with your own first impression assessments, right? Like, find paths that could open up.
Hey man, who are you stashing, sir?
Man, I'm looking at a pair of young wide receivers in a very similar kind of situation in the exact same state In fact, I'm looking at Bengals wide receivers Andre Yoshivas, or Yoshivas, I believe is how you pronounce it, and
Yoshivas.
Charlie Jones. So Yoshivas, who I prefer Yoshivas, is 23.5% rostered in Sleeper, and Charlie Jones 39.3%, a little more rostered. Jones was a 4th-round pick. Uh, Yoshivas was a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
Uh, Jones has more of a slot profile. Had a big punt return touchdown this year. Um, but you know, T. Higgins is a free agent. Tyler Boyd is a free agent. Trenton Irwin is not an obstacle to a young player advancing onto the field. There is a plausible story you can tell yourself for both of these guys, where that is the number 2 target for Joe Burrow on opening day. And like, it would surprise us, right? Like there's a bunch of hurdles they have to clear, like free agency and the draft and training camp, right? Which are all opportunities for them to get usurped by a veteran or a rookie or whoever. But like, if they just survive all those hurdles, all of a sudden you could be turning around in September and like, oh, this is a thing. This is really a thing. And so I'm pretty interested in both of these guys. They both have interesting athletic profiles, and I can see them being good with volume if they get it.
I like Yoshivas a little more. He seems to have more physical upside. So that means Jones will probably be the one to hit. I'd be totally willing to roster either of these guys. A lot of times you get like these leagues that are 2-year taxi as well. If you can get one of these dudes on your roster, active roster right now, pick them up off the wire. You can just throw them in your taxi after the season ends and maybe carry them through the taxi next year. Yoshivas is a guy who totally could break out from the 6th round. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying he definitely will or even has a high likelihood of it, but like, it's all there. You got an elite quarterback, you got a job opening, you have prototypical size and traits, and you have some flashes where he's been on the field a little bit. And Jones is the same exact way. Where they've been on the field and performed at least, minor sporadically, which you got to at least see that. Guys don't come from 0 and then break out. You got to see a little bit of juice. And with Jones's big plays in the kicking game, Yoshivas having a few touchdowns throughout the season, I think we are seeing tiny flecks of what could be starters for the team moving forward. Could be.
Absolutely. And
could be.
Look,
big emphasis on the
look,
could be.
if they go out, they sign a mid-tier veteran and then spend a day 2 pick on wide receiver, then these are cuts when you go to your rookie draft.
They are
and
cuts,
that's fine,
yeah.
right? You know what I mean? Like, and that's fine. But like, you take the shot now, and if they don't sign a mid-tier veteran in free agency, and they don't spend day 1 or 2 capital on another rookie wide receiver, then all of a sudden you have something potentially very excellent, for nothing. So like, those are 2 guys I'm looking at. David Bell, I feel like, is a very similar kind of bet here. So I think we're thinking the same way. I love it.
Yeah, man. There you go. Would it be fair to comp Yoshivas to like Nico? I know Nico got a lot more capital, but like, just that they're slow coming out, and then they kind of have the same physical style on the field. So like, I don't know. You guys can be very, very slow for a year or 2, and then all of a sudden pop if they have a quarterback in place that can put them there, and they've earned playing time on the field. So that's what we're chasing after.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tremendous athlete, and played at a low level. It wouldn't surprise me if he took over the. I think he's better built than Charlie Jones to be the 2. Charlie Jones feels like a classic slot receiver, but also that could be the number 2 target in a 3 receiver set, like, easily, right? Like, they could bring in a veteran to play outside and have Jones be the slot guy, and Jones could be the number 2 target, right? Yeah. So I think they're both. I'd love to get them both if they're both free.
All right, let's move on here. We got starts of the week coming at you now. We're going to be going through our starts at each fantasy position, all 4 of the main ones. We're here on this show usually talking about start 10, start 12 type leagues, Dynasty Superflex, full PPR, tight end premium leagues. That's what me and Greg like to play in, leagues where you're starting, 10 skill position players sometimes. So deeper rosters and deeper total leagues in Dynasty. Start of the week for me this week, I'm going to kick us off, is I'm going to go with a guy who had a pretty good game last week. He's kind of coming out of nowhere right now. I like Nick Mullins for the Minnesota Vikings this week. Nick Mullins Had a pretty decent performance last week against was it the Bears last week? Was that his opponent this week? Yeah, it was last week. Or it was Cincinnati last week. Yeah, pretty decent performance as the 26 completions, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was QB 12 on the week. That's sweet, coming off basically the bench and be a number 1 quarterback. I like Mullins to be in like the, I don't know, like 13 to 20 kind of range. I like him over a lot of the other guys in that area. Detroit is bottom 4 against the fantasy quarterback. We are playing in a dome. We're going to have a playoff-like atmosphere, and we have a 47-point over-under. So I'm perfectly willing to start Nick Mullins in my fantasy semifinals over Russell Wilson, over Sam Howell, guys who have been performed way more this season. I like the matchup for Mullins. He's flashed at times throughout his whole career. He's like a 6 or 7 year NFL vet. He's had random good games. I think he's poised to do it again against Detroit.
He's got some great weapons who can who can make his stats look great even if he's mediocre.
That's pretty much what happened last week. I mean,
yeah.
But I think it could happen again. There's a good chance it happens again.
Yeah. I do want to say, boy, he throws 2 first-half interceptions. He might not come out for the second half.
He might get benched. Yeah.
You do have to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, the floor could be a crater game. But I like the pick, and he was a person I considered.
I would play him over any skill position that I would put in my Superflex for sure.
Yes.
And I like him, like I said, in all the locked-in QB1s easily over him. But once you start talking about those different QB2s, Mullins is a strong consideration for me.
There. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So my start of the week is going to be Geno Smith, and I put in here, or even Drew Lock. Like whoever
Seahawks quarterback.
Yeah. At Tennessee, the over/under is 41.5, which is not great, but they're 2.5-point road favorites, and I think they're going to win a competitive game here. Vegas has them for 3 touchdowns. I think there's going to be a couple of touchdowns through the air with these great passing weapons. I think, there's a pretty good chance that they'll have Tennessee's offense, which might have Ryan Tannehill coming in, right? That might give them some favorable short fields or something like that. And I think it's a rough overall week for the quarterback 2s. And I think Geno is a high to mid quarterback 2 here this week. I like Geno. I don't have a lot of shares, but I feel good about the general passing game of Seattle this week.
Yeah, I'd be willing to start either guy as a QB2 in there. The locks look good. I mean, he really has passed the eye test the last 2 weeks. It's been pretty interesting. That dime he threw at the end of the game.
That's fantastic.
That was nuts, man. That was a beautiful ball.
I advanced in our taxi stand in one of the leagues we were in together. I advanced on that play.
Yeah.
And I was sweating it the whole half. I needed one more play by JSN. And boy, Locke put that in there.
That was really close for you. Yeah. All right. So
who you got at running back?
I got a running back. I got a man who, he's a longtime fantasy legend. We have our start of the week is Zeke Elliott for the New England Patriots. Zeke has been an absolute dog the last couple of weeks. I mean, he only had 9 fantasy points last week, but we're talking, 17 targets over the last 3 games with Rhamondre out. You got big dog workhorse and carries right here, 17 carries, 22 carries, 11 carries. He is going to get the rock so much against Denver. It's going to be crazy. On the road, I mean, we could be looking at 30 touches for Zeke in this game. Does he have the straight line speed he once did? No. Is he still just the same powerhouse animal? I think so. Watching him in that game last week against Kansas City, he looked. The rumors of his demise have been not greatly overplayed, but somewhat overplayed. I think Zeke still has some juice, at least for the remainder of this season. You got no Rhamondre. He didn't practice this week. I don't expect Rhamondre to play. I'm playing Zeke over Najee, over Jerome Ford, over Jalen Warren. I'm playing Zeke over Devin Singletary. I really like Zeke this week.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm probably
Warren's the closest.
Not playing him over. No, yeah. Singletary.
You think so?
Singletary. Look at his touches, man. Singletary,'s been utterly crushing. To me, I'm playing Singletary.
I know he's your dog. Yeah.
I'm playing him over a lot of people this week. I'm playing him in a lot of spots, I might play him over Josh Jacobs. Devin Singletary had 26 for 121 and 5 targets on top of it last week. I'm not getting away from that. But I agree with you that Zeke is probably a guy you're starting in most of your team, most of your spots where you have him.
Yeah.
And you feel excellent. He's better than most of the other late handcuffs. Definitely Ford, both the Pittsburgh guys. I like. I'll probably start him over. Probably start him over either Ravens back. Stuff like that.
Zeke should solidly finish in the RB2 range. I mean,
I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who you starting, big dog?
So I've got kind of an A and B here. So Ty Chandler smashed last week. They're home against the Lions this week. If Alexander Madison is back, you start Ty Chandler anyway, because that's his job now. Or you bet that that's his job now. We won't know until they're on the field, but with a huge over-under and as good as he looked last week, and they're playing for the playoffs, and, nobody's stacking the box with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison out there, right? Like, I want to make the bet that Ty Chandler gets big workload even if Madison is back. Now, if Madison is out, then Chandler's an obvious play and not a deep start. So I want to give you an even deeper pivot here so that I'm not cheating.
Sure.
Right? And that is Chris Rodriguez at the Jets. There's no word on Bijan Robinson yet. Antonio Gibson appeared to get benched at halftime last week. We don't really know what's going on over there. But they're playing for next year, and surely they want to see if Chris Rodriguez is a meaningful part of their future. Antonio Gibson is not a meaningful part of their future. So I think there's going to be a lot of volume, and the Jets are kind of a rush funnel defense because they're very hard to throw against, but they give up. They're kind of soft against the run between the tackles. So, if Bijan Robinson doesn't go and they give Chris Rodriguez 20 opportunities inside, I really like that.
I love the Rodriguez play. I have Robinson a few times. I'm anticipating Robinson to miss.
Me too.
Boy, Chris Rodriguez, that 224 pounds just jumps right out at you.
Yep.
I got to be honest, I haven't watched him carry the ball too much, but
he looks a lot like Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I bet he does.
He's a big old bulldozer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big old bulldozer, right? Mm-hmm. He's an SEC. He's a big old bulldozer SEC back who nobody was real excited about in the draft because he's not explosive, but he's tough and he'll go right through you. I think he's potentially a good play this week.
Rodriguez might be on your dynasty wire too, so it could probably worth a look.
And he's a rookie, so if he had a good week, you'd have an asset that had held value through the offseason.
Yeah, you really would. If all he took was 2 weeks, all of a sudden he's going to have a really loud offseason. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. All right, wide receivers. So Greg mentioned this before. He was talking about JSN, and that's going to be my wide receiver start of the week, Jackson Smith and Jigba for the Seattle Seahawks. Boy, I don't have a lot of figures to throw at you here other than Tennessee's bad at playing pass defense. It's the same reason Greg's start of the week in those quarterbacks. I mean, they're going to throw the ball around, and they're going to have some success doing it. After that monster touchdown to win the game last week, I mean, that's there's almost no more momentum a guy can have going into the next week. So I love chasing after that. I just feel great about JSN as a wide receiver 3. You got a little bit kind of think about, how you want to lose sometimes if you're going to lose. And I'm not going to lose a fantasy playoff with a JSN that went big on my bench. I'm not going to do that, because if you hold him, you've been holding him all year and you invested a lot to get him and you've been, fighting off trade offers that suck. And so fire him up, get the juice out of him. It's time for JSN. I'm playing him.
Very good.
I like him over, real quick. I like him over Hollywood Brown. I like him over Nico Collins with Case Keenum out there, and I'm playing him over either Pittsburgh receiver.
Obviously, you're not playing him over Nico if Stroud and Nico both get back.
Yeah, I think Stroud is ruled out, or at least they were.
Oh, no. He didn't practice today, but if he shows up with no symptoms on Thursday, he's playing.
With a healthy Stroud, Nico goes above JSN. Yes.
For sure. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. My deeper start of the week is Dontavian Wicks of Green Bay at Carolina. Guys, my gosh. 5th round pick.
This guy came out of nowhere, yeah.
It's crazy. Fifth round is not awful draft capital, but like it got hidden with them spending second round picks on wide receiver and tight end, and then a third round tight end, and then Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Like this guy got really hidden, but he's a good player. And he can clearly play. I think he's a better player than Romeo Doubs. I already think that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't. Where were we today? I know as of yesterday, Watson and Reed were both iffy. Where are we as of now? Do you know?
Bro, I pretty much at this point just always assume Christian Watson's gonna miss, and then if he's active on game day, I'm happy. I'm not sure what the injury status is on either of those players. Let's check out Reed real quick.
But like, so you've got gimpy guys. Even if they make it, they're even Watson not practicing today.
Either
even
if
if they
practice on Wednesday.
Yeah, so like Dontavian Wicks could get 12 targets. I mean, like Carolina's awful. Jordan Love is playing well. The playoffs are on the line. Their starting tight end is out, although spoiler, they've got two good tight ends. But Dontavian Wicks could. I don't hate Romeo Doubs this week, by the way. Like if you had put him there, like. If Watson and Reed miss, I still think Jordan Love's going to throw the ball 40 times and got to throw for 300 yards.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. Wicks has looked good past the eye test. He's been popping. It's the Packers clearly had a strategy. They spent 6 draft picks on wide receivers over the last 2 years. So I would say and with all the injuries that the guys have had, the whole thing's unsettled. Jayden Reed is trending to be the number 1 among the whole group. But any one of these 6 guys, even going back to like Samori Toure is the name we haven't mentioned. I mean, he popped a little bit last year. Like this is an unsettled receiver room. Someone like Wicks, over the next 12 months could establish himself as a primary starter in this offense. I mean, it's just who's going to play the best moving forward.
But this week with Carolina bad and Watson, Reed, gimpy, it's just like
no, it's a good start. It's good
yeah, and if they get up big, Watson and Reed are going to sit even if they like game it out. You know what I mean? Like get them off at halftime. With Dontavian Wicks, I love it this week. What do you got at tight end?
We're going to tight end here. I'm going to stick with the Green Bay Packers, like Greg was mentioning. I got Tucker Kraft as my tight end start of the week. I like Tucker Kraft as a low end tight end 1, like tight end 11 or 12 on the week. We got 16 targets over the last 3 weeks for Tucker Kraft. Love to see that. Those wide receivers are banged up, as Greg mentioned, should free things up for him. He is playing. The big sell here is this guy is on the field forever. 96%, 95, 100, 95. Those are his snap shares the last 4 weeks without Musgrave. He doesn't leave the field. They're going to move the ball well against Carolina. They're not going to have their other primary targets out there. This kid can play. He's a good pass-catching tight end. Tucker Kraft, fire him up. I like him more than Michael Mayer, more than Dalton Schultz without Stroud. I like him more than Freiermuth. I like him more than pretty much any wide receiver 4 in my Superflex or one of my flexes. Tucker Kraft, pretty good.
Yep, I can't argue with any of that. I took a peek at what Mayer's done recently, and I agree with you. I don't see anything to argue with. Tucker Kraft is my most rostered tight end. He's my second most rostered player after Yoshivas. And I think I think there's a chance he outcompetes Luke Musgrave or earns a 50-50 split. And again, just like everything you said about the plan to overinvest in the wide receiver room and then just see how it shakes out. They did that at tight end.
They did the same exact thing. Yep.
Is a hell of a player.
Yes.
I
think Musgrave was more pro ready coming out, and that's why you saw him kind of establish himself as a starter early. But like Kraft could usurp this guy and just jump him over the depth chart, or it could just be a 50-50 split moving forward. I don't think Musgrave's so good long term that it keeps Kraft off the field. But we're not talking about buying the player. We're just talking about this week, and you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I pulled him off several of my taxi squads to get him in the lineup. So I'm with you.
Tight end, who you got?
So I feel like this is the layup of the week, guys. Hunter Henry at Denver. Denver has been a cheat code opposition for tight end all season. You put your tight ends in against Denver. Denver is bad at guarding the tight end, even when Denver is holding teams to 13 points and 220 yards. The tight end got 16 and a touchdown. Um, Hunter Henry has been the Patriots' number one target since Bailey Zappi took over. He is a top 4 finisher, weekly finisher each of the last 2 weeks coming in. It's just like it almost seems too good to be true. Like I almost want to put the Admiral Akbar "It's a trap" meme up here because it's almost too perfect. But like, nonetheless, don't put him on your bench.
He's a tight end 1. I like him more than Kraft. I mean, what do you do with this guy? I loved Hunter Henry in LA. I enjoyed him moving. I thought it was going to be a big opportunity for him. I think he's a tremendous football player. I can't really identify if he's regressed or if the offense is just terrible. So maybe he hasn't regressed with the performances he's been putting up. He looked great last week against KC. Henry did. It's good.
Yeah. I think he's a guy who is potentially an interesting team change candidate in the offseason.
Is his contract up?
So,
I think it is. I think he had a 3-year deal. Yeah, and he's at the end of it.
I think it is. Yeah. So he's a guy, and Noah Fant. Those are 2 tight ends who I think have very interesting possibilities.
Fant's really interesting. Yeah.
Changing teams as guys who are young enough to make a difference. So I think he's an asset for your roster.
If Fant's still 26, he could still have a great career ahead of him.
if you want to buy the next David Njoku pretty cheap, that's a good.
It might be Noah Fant. Yeah,
it might be. Yeah. So there you go. All right. So we've started some deeper starts. Now, who are some guys, Tony, that you would normally start in start 10 Superflex leagues that we're going to try to get on our bench this week? You go first.
Yeah, so this is going to be tough because this is a top 15 player at his position right now, and I'm going to tell you should probably sit him because I hate the matchup and he hasn't been playing very well lately, and his name's Sam Howell. Now, I came around to this guy. I didn't like him in the offseason, but he did great. Yeah, he's QB7 right now. I'm not trying to dump on him, but just look at his performance, man. He prior to the bye, he had a rough game, then bye, then rough. Combined stat line there, 33 completions for 229 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Now, he's got 2 rushing touchdowns in there also, but Howell has had a rough go of it the last little bit. There's a 37-point over-under for him against the New York Jets. It looks like Bijan Robinson's going to miss. We talked about that a little bit before. That's going to make things even worse. The forecast is a little bit of rain in East Rutherford, and I don't like Sam Howell this week. He's just outside the top 20 for me. I would play Nick Mullins over him, Russell Wilson over him. I'd play Joe Flacco over Sam Howell, and I wouldn't think twice about it. I think the discussion is on Jake Browning, Eileen Browning. With that Chase thing does kind of stir things up, but I would play Howell over any skill guy. I'm not sitting him for like my 11th skill position player or whatever. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try for the upside. But if I have other quarterback options that I even feel decent about, I'm probably going to play that guy over Howell.
The Jets are such an awful matchup for quarterbacks.
They're the number 3 team in the league against a fantasy quarterback. They give up like 11 or 12 points only on average.
Yeah,
it sucks.
And they have put up some. They have caused some big time quarterbacks to put up some really, really bad weeks. So yeah, I'm completely with you. And by the way, he gets San Francisco at home next week, so you can cut Sam Howell in your redrafts and hope, like in your redrafts where that's all you got left is those 2 weeks. Like we're not playing him again this year.
See you later, buddy. Thanks for your help this year, Sam. But it's time to move on.
I also think he's going to get replaced. Like right now, they're sitting at the 4th pick of the draft, and I kind of feel like that's the quarterback 3, just like it was last year, and it's going to be Jaden Daniels, the athletic late riser, just like it was last year. It just feels very mirror-y to me.
Yeah. Yep.
So, see you, Sam. All right, let's close it all out. My sit of the week is George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth.
So it's 3 Pittsburgh pass catchers. Greg's sitting all 3 of them right now.
I am doing everything I can to sit all 3 of these guys. Now, you start 12s, you start getting hard to sit a Deontay Johnson with the target share. Your 2 tight end leagues, it's hard to get Freiermuth on the bench, right? But I'm trying to get all these guys on the bench against Cincinnati with Mason Rudolph under center. Guys, this is not the Rudolph you want to see for Christmas.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
So my bullet notes, nope. Point two, nuh-uh. And third of all, absolutely not.
No way.
I don't want it. Cincinnati is terrible against the run. They just lost DJ Reader, their best run stopper, right? So now this is Cincinnati starting to look solid against the pass, like a run funnel defense. I actually think Jaylen Warren is a guy. I still like I still like your start of the week Zeke there, but I'm not afraid to play Jaylen Warren in this matchup because I think he's a bit of a run funnel. I am afraid to, but would play Najee.
Yeah. He who must not be named after half a point last week or third of a point.
Yeah. But oh, so you mean like more than Bijan? Who we're all going back to.
But, he scored 0.3, and he had half a point more than Bijan.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I expect the Pittsburgh running game to lead the way. They're not going to put this weight on Mason. Like, how are we back to the Mason Rudolph? Like, seriously? So yeah, get away from those Steelers pass catchers with Mason Rudolph on the way.
No, man, it's smart. I think that's what you have to do. I own a lot of them, and of all three players, I own them regularly, and I'm looking to get them on the bench. George Pickens might be the disappointment of the season for me, maybe of the whole year going back to draft season. I mean, just
interesting.
I wasn't spending crazy high capital on him. I was just riding the shares that I had from late round.
I get you.
But like, boy, I had hopes for him, and it's just some flashes, but boy, it's been pathetic though.
He was my big sell of the offseason.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I turned a bunch of those shares into Christian Watson. So,
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah, in fact, I was reviewing a trade. I was like, I made this trade in February, 10 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I really wanted to go from George Pickens to Christian Watson. So I was like, I'll give you George Pickens and Jamal Williams coming off of a 20 touchdown season and a 4th round pick for your Christian Watson, and like throw in Raheem Mostert.
Oh, Raheem! Oh, he's pretty good. Yeah, what a throw in.
I'll be in my semifinal in that league, and the only relevant piece of that deal was Raheem Mostert. I love it.
I love it, man. That's why you always got to get those throw-ins from people. Yeah. All right, well, that's a show for you guys. Thank you so much for joining us here at MFDF. We are here to bring you your starts, your sits, your trade advice, your stashes, your rookie analysis, whatever you need, your draft day trade analysis. We got it for you here on the channel. Good luck. Good luck this week to everyone out there. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Just thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy your holiday season and go win some games, baby.